Donald Trump and his team have announced that they want no redactions on the affidavit. This has been a battle that has been ongoing since his home was raided by the FBI over at Mar-a-Lago. And, you know, the U.S. government, they were sort of hinting that they were okay talking about a lot of this stuff. And then it turns out they're not. And we spent a lot of time here on this channel unpacking the arguments both directions. The media wants to see not only the warrant that has the inventory list and the general cover sheet for a criminal warrant, but they also want to see the affidavit, the probable cause statement that justified the warrant in the first place. And Merrick Garland was somebody who said Donald Trump was the individual who started talking about this. And I'm okay now unsealing it until it came to conversations about unsealing the entirety of the affidavit. And then they said no. We talked all about that previously. But we were wondering, what is Donald Trump going to say about this? Does he oppose the unsealing of the affidavit? Because, I mean, obviously, if you're a Democrat, you're saying, well, that's evidence of his criminality. I mean, that's an FBI special agent who wrote an entire document on there that was incriminating the former president, right? It's enough to go search his personal residence. So why would Trump want that unsealed? He'd have to be a nut job to do that, right? Well, not really. Here's what Taylor Budowich, who is a Trump spokesperson, said on Twitter. He said, President Trump has made his view clear that the American people should be permitted to see the unredacted affidavit related to the raid and break-in of his home. Today, Magistrate Judge Reinhardt rejected the DOJ's cynical attempt to hide the whole affidavit from America. And again, right, the judge was sort of mincing words on there a little bit. We'll have to wait and see whether, you know, the entire, or if he releases anything, what it ultimately looks like. But the point here from Taylor is true nonetheless. He says, however, no redactions should be necessary and the whole affidavit should be released, given the Democrats' penchant for using redactions to hide government corruption, just like they did with the Russia hoax. So that is Taylor Budowich, Trump's spokesperson, Trump's defense team, who is now, maybe not a lawyer, but he's sort of representing his interest, is saying, we want the whole thing released. Donald Trump does too. Now, a lot of people want this released, as we have seen from the court docket. We're going to jump over there and take a quick gander. Let's do a refresh so we have the most recent information available. And you can see, yeah, not much different than what we saw previously. Remembering that we left off on August 18th, we saw that there were several sworn declarations by individuals. Yesterday, we talked about Patrick Byrne, the former CEO of Overstock.com, right? He filed his memo, or his declaration, and he said, I was in the room with Trump when he did certain things. But there was another order, another motion by this guy, Michael S. Barth, and I want to share this one with you briefly. It is a rule is a motion under Rule 72 for the district judge to review an order of a magistrate judge, right? And so there's been some points here, some arguments that there's, you know, Judge Reinhardt is just a magistrate judge. He's sort of this low-level peon loser judge. And there's other judges out there who really actually have some, you know, legal experience and some background, and you want them to look at the lower judge's rulings, right? Kind of a standard thing. You've got a regular court of appeals, and we have this all the time. We've got sort of, you know, standard judges and pro tem judges who are running around, and then you've got a sort of like associate judges who are, you know, then you have a presiding judge who's kind of the boss judge. And so you've got all these structures. And so this motion here is saying, okay, lower level judge, you're kind of a dum-dum here. You gave me a bad ruling. I don't like it. You said I couldn't intervene and be a part of this. So I'm asking the district judge to go out now and give us some clarity and communicate that this lower level judge really screwed something up. And remember, he also talked about judge recusal and filing these pleadings saying that they should be conforming to the rules of the court. There was a bunch of responses and a back and forth all over this. Now, we don't see a whole lot from sort of that higher level federal district judge, but she did come out and they issued this order. And this is from a different judge today, right? So we have sort of a new player enters the game. Judge Robin L. Rosenberg is this judge. And so this, you know, that guy filed a motion like, you know, let me speak to your manager type of a motion. And this is what her response was. And we can take a look at it here. It says case number is what it is. It's a 2-page order, not a lot here. And it is an order overruling the objection to the magistrate judge's order. So let's zoom in on this just a little bit and get our highlighter out. It says, this matter is before the court on Mr. It wasn't Mr. Burns. It was the gentleman who filed this motion. Let's make sure we get his name. It was Barth. Mr. Barth filed the motion, and my screen just went out for some reason. Just a lot of technical fun today. Good Lord. All right, so we've got Mr. Barth here, who is now filing this motion. The judge is responding to Mr. Barth, and she says, all right, you filed this on August 18th, and we are construing this as an objection to Bruce Reinhart and his order on docket entry 63, saying that you can't get involved in this case, right? Remember, he tried to intervene. Judge said, no, you can't intervene. And so he's saying, I object to this judge's ruling. The court, they write, construes this objection as arguing that the request to intervene should have been granted, right? And this is, this judge denied him, so Mr. Barth is going to the boss. Pursuant to that rule, they say Rule 24, which governs interventions, a district court may permit an intervener to intervene when the intervener shares a claim or defense with the main action. But the court will presume that it's already adequately represented by an existing party, right? So you got to kind of jump over that presumption. That's the rule. They say here, under the judge's standards of abuse of discretion and a de novo standard, the court concludes that Reinhart's decision was correct. Court has considered the issues presented in this hearing, and based on the review, we say the parties who have been permitted, including national news outlets, have thoughtfully and professionally litigated their position. And therefore, the court can conclude that Mr. Barth, your interests have already been adequately represented and they will be adequately litigated for you. Therefore, it is ordered and adjudged that you are overruled, signed off on here by Robin L. Rosenberg, right? So now the reason I wanted to share that with you is because I've seen sort of a lot out there of people saying that there are a lot of differences between magistrate judges and federal judges. And now, this is the first time that we've seen in this case a U.S. district court judge sort of, rubber stamp the magistrate judge. It's sort of, let me talk to your boss. Boss came out and said, he's doing a great job. He's doing great. Yeah, everything's fine. So that's that, right? That's really the main update that we saw out of the court docket today. That actual motion entered yesterday. And then as you can see, we fast forward. We've got an order that we just read. We've got another order denying somebody else wanted to be a part of the case. And so, like I said yesterday, everybody's just crashing in here and the court is basically denying them, right? Ordering the government to respond to other intervenors' requests. And a lot of this is largely, uninteresting, but it still is a lot of updates that will continue to follow, of course, in the Donald Trump saga.